All right, thank you guys. Happy Monday to you. Hopefully you had an outstanding weekend, and welcome to College Football Week 13. This is the Mountain West edition. Got a couple of Turkey Day games in the Mountain West, so let's go ahead and dive into them. And we're going to start with Colorado State taking on Air Force, and that's going to be a 2 p.m. Eastern kickoff on Thanksgiving. The Air Force Falcons are the 6-point favorite at home. Totals 54.5. We're 4-1 in our last 5 Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And access to the Underdog tier membership costs just $4.99. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that in just a few moments. We're also 2-1 in our last 3 NFL tier membership plays on that site as well. We have over 750 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, I highly recommend it. I'd love to have you. And the link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, Air Force is coming fresh off a solid 28-0 shutout victory over New Mexico, really taking advantage of the Lobos without their starting quarterback. Now, this Air Force offense is gaining over 325 yards a game on the ground, and they scored a dozen rushing touchdowns through 3 ball games. Running back Brad Roberts, is it Brad Rogers or Roberts? Anyway, their leading running back is averaging 7.4 yards per carry, and he scored 4 times for the Falcons. I forgot what his last name was. But anyway, this Air Force defense has 3 interceptions and 5 takeaways on the year. Defensive back Corvin Taylor has a pair of interceptions from this Air Force secondary. 21 total tackles for Taylor and a PBU. Defensive tackle George Silvanic also has 2.5 sacks for the Falcons, along with 20 total tackles himself. And, of course, cornerback Elisha Palm currently leads this Falcon D with 25 total tackles on the season, along with an interception and 2 PBUs. Air Force has won 8 out of their last 9 at home. They've also won their last 8 straight hosting Colorado State. And speaking of the Rams, they've lost their last 2 straight on the road. They're scoring just 19 points a game away from home, and they're throwing for less than 200 yards in that same category. The Rams are completing just 52% of their passes, and they've been sacked 10 times through 3 ball games. Their leading rusher is also gaining just 54 yards on the ground a game, and he scored just 1 touchdown rushing on the year as well. Meanwhile, defensively, Colorado State is they're allowing 38 points per contest and nearly 290 yards a game through the air. The Rams secondary has just 1 interception on the season. Now, total-wise, Colorado State saw their season opener against Fresno State under the posted number. Meanwhile, 2 out of 8 Air Force's last 3 contests stayed under the line themselves. We're having a good one today. Give me the Falcons of Air Force -6 and the under 54.5 in that ball game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. I guess it really doesn't matter because they just fast forward through the content anyway and just get right to the picks. So anyway, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leads out for College Football Week 13, and of course this is the Mountain West edition. But before we dive into some more free content here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we're 4-1 in our last 5 Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access today's Underdog tier package pick, it's only going to cost you just $4.99. We also went 2-1 in our last 3 NFL tier package picks on that site as well. Now, you might be wondering, why would I sign up for picks on Patreon where I can get them here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great thought, a great consideration. But just hear me out real quick. If you were to go out there and bet every single game that's on the board, side and total, like I do with my breakdowns here on YouTube, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. It's not something you want to go out there and do and bet every game on the board. I think I think they said John Gotti used to do that back in the day. He was a terrible gambler because he bet every game side in total. But anyway, the books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. Way too sharp with the numbers. The odds become massively more against you the more and more games you play like that. And to be honest with you, the bookies have so much more money than you do to be able to absorb that type of action. So what I do on Patreon is I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, I'm having a lot more success betting on games that way, in a smaller sample size versus wagering on every single game on the slate side in total. Now, we do currently have over 750 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, once again, I'd love to have you. I think it's a great idea for you. And link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, guys, we have another Mountain West Turkey Day football game here for you. It's going to be in the evening, and I'm talking about New Mexico squaring off against Utah State, 7 p.m. Eastern start time on Thanksgiving night. The Lobos of New Mexico are -4 on the road, totals 53 and a hook. But despite their 4th straight loss this past week, 2 out of the Lobos' last 3 ball games were just one-score losses. They were highly competitive right in those ball games to the end. And if you throw out that Air Force loss this past weekend, where their starting quarterback was out, New Mexico scored 53 total points in their prior 2 ball games before that. Now, the Lobos have successfully covered the point spread in 2 out of their last 3 ball games as well. Now, New Mexico is gaining nearly 6 yards per play on the road, and they're rushing for over $170 a game when they travel. Now, it looks like starting quarterback Tavaka Tuioti should be able to go this Thursday. He is listed as questionable, but things are looking up for the junior quarterback. Just keep an eye on him, as I am expecting to see him play this Thursday. Now, Tuioti has thrown just 1 interception, and he's been sacked only 3 times. He's also rushing for 7.4 yards per carry, and he's the Lobos' 2nd leading rusher. Now, running back Bobby Cole has rushed for 255 yards and gains nearly 6 yards per carry himself. And this New Mexico defense on the other side of the ball, despite struggling significantly, they've forced 7 turnovers on the season. So kind of a bend but don't break situation. Really being opportunistic, kind of keeping the defense competitive here. Now, safety Jarek Reed has 3 interceptions from this Lobo secondary, 21 total tackles and a fumble recovery. Linebacker Brandon Shook has 37 total tackles and a PBU. And edge rusher Joey Noble has a pair of sacks from the defensive line, 24 total tackles and a fumble recovery. They're taking on a Utah State program who's scoring just 11 points a game, and they throw for less than 115 yards per contest. The Aggies are 0-4 straight up on the season, and they've yet to successfully cover the number. The Aggies are completing just 49% of their passes, and they've thrown for only 2 touchdown passes as well. Meanwhile, defensively, the Aggies are allowing over 320 yards a game through the air and over 200 on the ground. Now, Utah State has just 2 defensive takeaways through 4 ball games as well. Now, total-wise, Utah State's last 2 ball games stayed under the posted number. Meanwhile, New Mexico saw their last 2 straight stay under the line themselves, 6-2 to the under in their last 8 meetings with Utah State. Give me the New Mexico Lobos -4 and the under 53.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup. It is going to be on Black Friday. Wyoming, UNLV, 4 p.m. Eastern start time. Wyoming's -17 on the road, totals 50.5. The Cowboys lost by double digits to Colorado State in their last outing. Now, the Cowboys have also lost 2 out of their last 3, and that includes a 37-34 loss to Nevada. The Cowboys are giving up 36 points a game on the road and over 335 yards passing. Wyoming's currently 0-2 against the spread on the road this season, and they failed to cover the number in 4 out of their last 5 in Las Vegas. And speaking of UNLV, the Rebels got their first cover of the 2020 season in their last ball game. They covered a 17.5 point spread against San Jose State depending on where you shopped at. And as bad as the Rebels have looked in many different spots this season, they're rushing for over 180 yards a game at home. Running back Charles Williams has 323 yards this season rushing, along with a pair of touchdowns. Meanwhile, defensively, on the other side of the ball, as bad as they've been, sophomore Jacoby Windman has 4.5 sacks, 2 PBUs, and a forced fumble from that linebacker position. The Rebels have once again successfully covered the point spread in 4 out of their last 5 ball games hosting Wyoming. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, UNLV saw their 3rd game of the season with Fresno State fly over the posted number by double digits. Meanwhile, Wyoming's currently 2-0 to the over when they travel themselves. So with all that said and done, we're going to go ahead and lean toward an underdog in this one. Give me the underdog UNLV Rebels plus 17 in the over 50.5 in that ball game. All right, next matchup. It's going to be on Small Business Saturday, even though there's really no more small businesses left in this country. But anyway, it's going to be San Jose State versus Boise State. That's going to be a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff, and I don't see that on our big screen in the back, unfortunately. But we're going to go ahead and break this one down. Once again, San Jose State, Boise State, 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff on the Smurf turf. The Boise State Broncos are minus 11 at home, total 58.5. The Broncos have failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3. One of those failures was an outright loss to BYU by the final of 51-17. This Boise State defense is giving up nearly 30 points per contest, along with allowing over 200 yards a game on the ground. Boise also has just 2 takeaways through 5 ball games this season. They're taking on an undefeated San Jose State program who's giving up just 15 points per game. The Spartans are giving up less than 5 yards per play, and they're holding their opponents to less than 220 yards a game passing. Safety Trey Jenkins has a pair of interceptions from that San Jose State secondary. He also has 24 total tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And speaking of sacks, defensive lineman Cade Hall currently leads that Spartans defense in that category with 5.5 sacks, along with 15 tackles and a fumble recovery. Linebacker Kyle Harmon currently leads San Jose State in tackles with 52 of them. Meanwhile, offensively, the Spartans are throwing for nearly 300 yards per contest. Quarterback Nick Starkel is just 20 yards shy of 1,000 passing yards already this season. He's thrown 9 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. He's also been sacked just twice. His favorite target's been wideout Bailey Gaither, who has 27 grabs for 432 yards and 4 touchdowns. Gaither is averaging 16 yards per reception and 108 yards receiving a game. Now, the Spartans have also successfully covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 9, dating back to last season. Now, total-wise, the Spartans' last 2 straight stayed under the posted number. They're 3-1 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this one. Give me the underdog San Jose State Spartans plus 11 and the under 58.5 in that contest. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It's going to be a late one, not on our big screen, but it's Nevada, Hawaii, 11 p.m. Eastern kickoff at Aloha Stadium. Nevada's minus 6 on the road, totals 59.5. The Wolfpack's 2-0 straight up on the road, 5-0 straight up overall for the season. Nevada's also successfully covered the point spread in 80% of their ball games. The Wolfpack is scoring nearly 33 points a game and throwing for over 360 yards per contest. Quarterback Carson Strong has completed over 70% of his passes and has thrown for over 1,800 yards in just 5 ball games. Strong has thrown for 14 touchdown passes as well, probably the best quarterback in the country named Carson. Anyway, his favorite target's been wideout Romeo Doubs, who has 778 total yards receiving this season and 9 touchdowns. The dominant Doubs is averaging 22 yards a catch and 156 yards receiving per contest. Meanwhile, this Nevada defense has been real good as well. They're giving up less than 195 yards passing per contest and less than $125 rushing. The Wolfpack is giving up just 19 points per contest on the road as well. Dom Peterson has 4 sacks on the season thus far. 24 total tackles for the junior. Lawson Hall leads the team in tackles with 33 of them. And defensive back Tyson Williams has an interception and 32 tackles from the secondary. Nevada's held their opponents to 21 points or less in their last 4 straight ball games. They're taking on a Hawaii team who just lost their they lost their last 2 straight ball games. They're just 1-3 straight up in their last 4. The Rainbow Warriors have also failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 contests as well. This Hawaii defense is giving up 37 points a game at home and over 200 yards a game on the ground in that same category. The Hawaii pass rush is also getting the quarterback just 1.6 times per contest. Meanwhile, offensively, Hawaii's top running back on the team is averaging just 41 rushing yards per contest and has yet to score a rushing touchdown on the season. Now, Hawaii's failed to cover the point spread in 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Nevada. And when it comes to the total in this one, Hawaii's gone 60% to the under in 5 games on the season. Meanwhile, Nevada saw 3 out of their last 4 stay under the line themselves. The Wolfpack's 2-0 to the under on the road this season. Give me the Nevada Wolfpack -6 and the under 59.5 in that game. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.